No, it's
Yeah.
just
Let me get on the
if you
main
have
line. Jesus.
if you have chemistry and interest in someone, and at this stage, I can spot them.
Hey, he may see your perfect man may be 5'2".
The thing is, I don't have a perfect man.
Oh, I mean I don't mean perfect in every way. I'm just
It's a
saying
good
perfect for
answer.
you.
Because when I was younger, you had a different take on the man, and I've had some, real good one, good looking, and etc. But when you get older, it becomes from the heart. Like, can I be with this person
Yeah.
if he was disabled tomorrow? Am I that girl who would say, hey, I can operate the tractor or whatever, that we can still survive? Like,
Oh,
I would definitely be that person.
oh no, I get you. I get you. There's
So,
different levels of
yeah,
friendship.
yeah,
There's different levels of friendship.
I agree.
But a lot of times, especially if you're somebody if you're with somebody else, said Miss Nikki on YouTube said, "Let it rain, men in Douglasville, Georgia."
But this I can't understand. We talk about the perfect man, but what about the perfect woman? Well, not perfect, but what about the ideal woman? I'll put it that way.
Well, here's
Um,
the thing. There's no such creature, but there is one that's
I just told that to Dabs. There's
good.
no
Said
such
good.
creature.
Said good enough. There's good enough, because like you said, no one's perfect, but a lot of times we let perfect become the enemy of good. And
and I think TV.
what I mean by that, everybody heard of the 80-20. Some of us try to get 85 and 15, and 85 and 15s ain't around.
Well, I think TV gives us this image of what it looks
Yeah.
like. We see it and we start wanting it. Like, we want the relationships that we see on TV, how they go through all this stuff and then it ends
But
really
most of those
well.
are
But
scripted though.
I
Most of,
know,
most
but
of them are scripted.
I'm gonna say it, and
so
that's a fairy tale.
it is.
Every girl when they would grow up, they always wanted to be a princess.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All girls want to grow up to be a
They
princess.
did.
That's a fairy tale. You know you're not gonna be a princess
Yeah.
unless you're royalty.
Well,
I
this is the
am, but
thing.
I'm not licensed royalty, but you know what I mean. So there's no perfect person out there. And in every relationship, you're going to learn something different, and you're going to build in a different
Mm-hmm.
manner. Like for
Mm-hmm.
instance, Dab said that, this is what happened in his past relationship. You learn from that and you move on and you try to grow within your next relationship, but not put that negativity on your new relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
Right.
when you
Because
find a person, you don't actually, I personally think that when you find your perfect mate, as you would call it, is what God had provided from you. And
Right.
it's not necessarily what you're used to or what you're looking at. It could be something totally different, but because God wants you to see another person that you're not used to, and that could be your
Mm-hmm.
soulmate.
Mm-hmm.
as long as they
I
use
agree.
Colgate.
Uh-oh.
But soulmates are, I mean, we always think there's one person, but there's more than one person because there's 7 billion people in the world. Blake Kevin Samuels, and I know some of y'all be like, oh, he said, bringing your past into your present ruins your future. That
Yeah.
Liked him because he spoke the truth. He was a little harsh in telling the truth, but some people needed that in order for them to hear. But I agree with you on that. Whatever you had in the past, I'm not saying to leave it there. Learn from it. Just like you can history books. That happened in the past, but
But
you
here's
learn from it.
here's hey Pearl, here's the thing though. A lot of us when we're under stress, we go to what we are. We
And a
we
lot of us
revert
like to
to
bring that past back with us and talk about it, and and like it's some of the stuff, even when maybe not even they're seeing another person, just sometimes even just talking about a past person, or people could, I guess, feel some way about that as well. You know what I mean?
Oh, I agree. I agree. But the real thing is that, like I said, you have to look at it from a perspective that your significant other may not have the deep of understanding of the situation from what they see. That doesn't mean what you see is what it is, but you know they may, because there's some things I don't understand, but there's some things people don't understand about me, and I gotta, and no matter how simple something looks to you, not everybody's going to get it, and that's kind of why we do go back to what we know, because sometimes, and this is self-sabotaging. Sometimes we'll look for patterns, even if the pattern's not there. We will make the pattern to fit what we're thinking. And that goes back to what you were saying, Dabs, is that, yeah, you know, I gotta, my last three people did this, so I'm expecting you to do that. And when you don't do that, you might subconsciously try to put the person in the situation so you will get the desired results. Is that fair to the other person? No. But that's something that you have to work within yourself. Said, look at yourself and saying, am I doing something that's causing this person to react that way? A lot of times we don't do it, myself included. Back to Miss Kim. What's going on, Miss Kim? I ain't forget about you.
I'm doing well.
But and, you you're you're a stage person. You know a lot of stuff, and you're very well versed. When people come to you and you see the couples together, whether you're out and about, you're at work or whatever, do you what how would you advise a coworker that it's not good to be friends with somebody who can be perceived as a threat to your significant other?
Well, first, let's see. I probably would tell them if this person is a threat to your significant other, and you're telling me there's absolutely nothing going on, y'all just friends, and you're not having any type of relationship with this person, then why is this person a secret to your significant other?
But that goes back to infidelity.
So that's what that person, your significant other, gonna think. You're sleeping with this person. This person is not someone that you don't take around. You're going out to different events with this person, and you're leaving your significant back at home. That's gonna be the first thing popping in their mind. You're sleeping with this person. Y'all got something going on. But if
Whether
you
it's
got
true or
it out in
not.
the open and there's no hidden agenda, then your partner probably won't feel that you're doing something out of the box, out of character.
No, that makes
That
sense.
would that because you don't want to jeopardize your relationship. So if everybody's all on one accord, and because I'll put myself in that situation. When I was living back home in Georgia, I had a friend that I worked with. God bless the dead. He passed away last year. He was married, and we worked together. We partied together. But I also knew his wife, and I was friends with the wife as well. So we all was friends. So it was nothing to hide. We all went out to dinner together. We all went to parties together. So it was nothing. He was my big brother. I was his little sister. I can even go places with his wife. I mean, it was just like a family. So if you're not hiding anything from anybody, you can coexist together.
That's and that's kind of how it should be. However, a lot of times it's not, because people are different and they react differently, and if they're not healed within themselves, they're going to have a skewed view of what's going on.
So when you say people are not healed within themselves, what is it to heal? If I mean, are
If you
saying
project,
that person?
a lot of times people project. They project their own issues onto the other people, and I've done that. I've done that, and that's what I mean. It's not, if you know
Had
what you're
that done to me.
yeah, if you know what you're if you recognize, and this is the healing, if you recognize what's going on and stop it before you project, that's healing. If I'm accusing you every Tuesday night, we get off here and I'm like, you talk to Dabs, and I didn't like that. I'm projected.
Right.
So that's what I mean. That's what I mean by healing. If you don't recognize your triggers and what actually is worthy of worrying about and what's not worthy of worrying about, you're gonna keep doing stuff like that. You're gonna keep
Correct.
doing. Go ahead. I'm
No,
sorry.
I said correct. You're correct.
And that's what I mean by heal. Being healed, and being, or at least acknowledging you have healings, because everybody heals at different rates, different paces. Miss Summer, I'm coming back. I'm coming back to you. I'm coming back to you. Same question I asked Miss Kim. Someone comes to you and tells you, they ran into somebody back in the day, and what advice would you give them? And their significant other is kind of bubbling under the collar. Miss Summer. All right.
I'm sorry, I missed the question. What was the question?
Someone coworker friend comes up to you and says, "Hey, I ran into somebody I used to date back in the day. My significant other is kind of giving me flack about it. What advice would you give that person?"
Me, I wouldn't give them advice. I will laugh and say you need to talk to your partner about that because, like I said, I'm single on purpose. But I did have a conversation with a couple of coworkers yesterday about this topic, and they told me no. Two different people, two different genders. They said no. If you're with someone, you don't have no friends as exes. That's they even if you work with them and y'all break up and y'all still in the same department or whatever have it, y'all not friends, y'all coworkers.
Yeah, you shouldn't crap where you eat.
Well, a lot of people do. You shouldn't, but it happens. It happens all the time. I watch
That,
too much YouTube for me not to know that it actually happens a lot.
yeah,
And
because that's why they put bathrooms and kitchens on the other opposite ends of the house.
but like I said, like we were saying all along, if you're in a
Wow,
relationship,
did you really say that? Okay. I mean, DFG.
I had a bathroom next to my kitchen.
That's nasty.
But I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
it's gross. But yeah, I've had a bathroom in my kitchen also, and it's not kosher. Um, but yeah, like you saying, if you're transparent in your relationship and y'all communicate, and you say and you telling this person, oh, My ex happens to work in the same area as I am. We're not friends. We are co-workers. We do have to communicate and we do have friends in common, but we're not friends. It's fine.
Okay.
As long as you have that communication and there's a boundary there, it's fine. But if you, like you said, if you're sneaking around just like, oh, I'm going out with my coworkers and not saying names or anything, and then he finds out it was just you and another girl, and there's like five other there was five males with you, and you dated one of them, there's going to be questions. There's going to be thoughts, and there's going to be something that's going to pop up, like why you couldn't just say that you and your coworker are going to meet up with mutual friends or whatever. It's going to cause a problem. And
And
like I said,
but you know what the answer usually is, and the deflection answer would be,
I don't know.
I didn't want you to get upset if I told you.
Yeah, but listen, I'm gonna say what I used to tell my kids. Tell me the truth, because you don't get in trouble. You won't get in so much trouble by telling the truth, because if I find out you lying, that's when I'm gonna scorch earth, and I'm gonna scorch earth and salt it. I'm gonna burn it and salt it, and you're never gonna be able to plow or sow any seeds in your life. So yeah, just tell me the truth. I'd rather be hurt in the truth than be living blissfully in a lie. So honesty is the best policy with everything.
Yes, yeah. And but there's a difference between honest and brutal honesty.
You are sounding like Stephen Hawkins right now.
Yeah, you sure enough are. I just want to add on to what Beanie said. Um, that's when I was just talking about this a little earlier, is that if you don't talk to the person and tell the person right then and there, it becomes worse later on because it had festered into you, and then you start thinking of other things. So deal with that situation immediately and don't wait, unless
Right.
it's y'all in a place where you can't deal with it. But don't let it fester and then something else happened, or that it repeated itself and then it made you madder. If the person doesn't know that that's what upset you, or you don't like it, or whatever the situation is, yeah, that other person that receives the information may be a little upset, but they'd be upset in that moment, and then y'all can discuss it. But if
Yeah.
you fester and then you don't tell that person till later, till something else happened, or you done got mad about it and you brought it back up, and they don't know that you upset about that situation, nip it in the
Right.
bud while you can.
And one thing people have to understand, you shouldn't have to find out. You shouldn't have to find out, because when you find out, it's a lot worse than knowing up front. And because you're gonna be up, what I realize in this, because we're all human, you're gonna be upset anyway. If not, and what I mean by upset, I mean you're gonna feel some kind of way, but it all depends on the degree. If someone says said Chocolate Pearl, I'm going out with so and so, and I'm going out, saying, you know how I feel. I know how you feel, but I'm still going out. You'll be upset, but at least it's like. But if you find out,
She
oh
gonna do what she gonna do anyway.
yeah,
But it's a but a good relationship, it's a conversation that must be had in order to make sure that there's not a wound open that you can't close.
right,
Right. I agree.
right. No, I mean you preaching to the choir here. I think we all can agree with that. How about you, Miss D?
I guess a lot of people walk away from their device.
But yeah, no, this
Mm.
is this is this is deep. This is deep. We're really getting across, and hopefully everybody in TikTok land is picking up. Like, share, subscribe. Those in Facebook land and YouTube land and Instagram land. Um, make sure that y'all like, share, and subscribe. I do a replay every week. I chop it up and send it out daily. Just check my page on YouTube. You'll see it. Sometimes I'll put it on TikTok. As long as TikTok is still here, it may go away. My videos are usually too long for IG. So yeah, you do what you got to do it when you have to do it. But I'm gonna cut it off a little early tonight. We're about 4 minutes short, but I think we've gotten to where we are. We have talked about everything about this subject, and I want to thank Dad for sending me this subject and me using it and us having this conversation because hey, somebody has to listen. Somebody will listen, and we just got to reach one at a time. We can't if we can't get them all at once. We get them one at a time. Before we go, I want you to say what's going on, Chocolate Pearl.
This was a good subject. I kind of was a little anxious or didn't want to discuss this situation because it happened to me, um, or I was one of the victors. But it was a good conversation. It was good to hear other people. Like I said, I talk to my siblings on a regular basis when things trouble me, so I can see if I'm in the wrong or is there another way that I can handle stuff. When it comes to relationships, it's also good to have someone that's a positive and somebody that's not going to bite their tongue with you in order to get through to you to make you understand, but won't give you something negative to where you're making your situation worse. So
Right.
I appreciate my siblings in all aspects, as well as I appreciate my mate in discussing these type of topics and just keep our relationship growing and butterflying like a
And
butterfly.
Bean.
Yeah, I'm single on purpose because again, I don't want to deal with nobody else's feelings. But I do believe in open communication, honesty, and like Pearl Chocolate Pearl said, this was a much needed discussion. Not even that just for everybody out there interwebs in the interwebs. So if you have any opinions about this subject, leave a comment below and on the YouTube, the Instagram, the TikTok or whatever. Um we need to have more open conversations with our partners. We need to have more open conversations with our families and our friends.
Yes.
The more honest you are, the better your relationship is. If you want to be in that relationship, regardless of it is familial, anything, you have to be honest and open and willing to accept somebody else's opinion. You ain't got to follow it, but accept it and think about it, and you will see the wonderful things that will happen when you actually listen and when you listen to the truth. That's all I say. Thank y'all for coming tonight. I'm out. Love you all.
Get you some rest, baby. And I want to thank everyone on the panel tonight. Miss Summer, Miss Kim, um, Madam Dale. I'll see you on Thursday. My big brother Dad doing his thing, and also Miss Nikki on over on YouTube. Everybody, Facebook land, everybody, TikTok land, everybody, Instagram land. And I just want to say my catchphrase: never make love by the garden gate. So love is blind. The neighbors hate. Y'all have a good one.